Welcome to Ancient Astrology with Sam and Verity.
Hi, I'm Sam Bakewell.
And I'm Verity Hebbs. And today for episode 31, we will be looking at Uranus and it's moving into Gemini.
Yes, we're a little bit late on it. We're a lot late.
Yeah, there's been a lot already sort of brought about it. But I'm interested because, obviously you've got your Hellenistic sort of slant on it and, more ancient sort of views on it. So, and your research.
Yeah. So when I was thinking about doing this lesson, I wrote up this class for my students, and I started thinking about it when Uranus was in its late degrees in Taurus, because it was making a trine aspect to my Mercury at 28 degrees in Virgo.
That's really cool to even notice.
Exactly. Well, you just, as an astrologer, you start realizing that, okay, why am I doing this? Let me have a quick look, There's always a reason and a planetary reason for this. So you could see why I wanted to delve deeper into the qualities and influences of the seventh planet from the sun. So modern astrology gives rulership to the outer planets. So Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, and Pisces is ruled by Neptune, and Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. But I wouldn't allot them rulership as it would conflict with a Hellenistic traditional astrology. And, I think we explained that quite well in episode 20. So, for the what the planets represent, the outer planets represent, you can go to episode 20.
Yes.
So Uranus was discovered in 1781 and it cycles 82 to 84 years. And so we have a couple of ladies in our class, my class, with and have experiencing a Uranus return. It's in the early degrees and they're in the later degrees, but still, yeah. So Uranus has already changed signs from Taurus to Gemini on the 7th of July 2025 at 3:46 p.m. Australian Western Standard Time. So on the 5th of September, Uranus at 1 degree and 27 minutes will station and then retrograde on the 7th of September. So currently right now, as we're recording, Uranus is retrograde in Gemini. So Uranus will retrograde back to Taurus in November, December, and January, and for the beginning of February 2026, stations direct on the 3rd of February 2026, and on the 26th of April 2026, it would change us back to Gemini. And that will be the case until August 2032, and Uranus will ingress to Cancer for a short time, only to retrograde back in Gemini in December 2032.
Wow.
So we've got a long time of Uranus in Gemini. So we're going to pull Uranus in Gemini apart. But I came across this article on the NASA webpage by this guy called John Urey, and he wrote on March the 13th, 1781, while surveying the night sky in the constellation Gemini, Herschel first noted a faint object that moved slowly against the background stars over several nights. Initially believing it to be a comet, he later correctly identified it as a distant planet.
Amazing.
As its discoverer, Herschel had naming rights over the new planet, and in honor of King George, he named it George's Star. So astronomers in other countries didn't like the new planet name after the British monarchy. Surprise, surprise. And suggested instead to name Uranus in the Greek mythology the father of Cronus, Saturn in the Roman mythology and grandfather of Zeus, Jupiter to the Romans, while following the pattern of naming planets after figures in the classical mythology. Uranus remains unique in that it uses the Greek name rather than the Roman one. And so he talks about it more, and he's also discussed at the beginning this article about when William Herschel was born, and anyway, but that's the bits that I wanted to discuss, right?
Yeah.
So the idea that the name was in question, which you would expect when there's signs in Gemini.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was different, yes. And there was back and forth about it, and
so there was a conflict basically over the name, and it's already quite unusual in its clan because it's a Greek name instead of a Roman god.
The fact that it's an outer planet, like it's a new planet discovered, that's amazing. There's times when there's been, only the amount, leading up to Saturn before then for so long. And then all of a sudden for there to be a new planet and it be outer. And because of the invention of technology like telescopes, which is that whole technology side of it. It's fascinating.
I mean, a pretty interesting milestone.
Yes, and like so much about it reflects what people, connect with Uranus. It's fascinating.
So the country the name comes from is unique from the rest of the gods or its clan, and other countries were annoyed with the British name, so forcing a change in the name. So Uranus was discovered during the American Revolution, and so we have this idea, of what it represents through this revolution as well. And so discovery helps us to distinguish the energy. So Mercury will have an impact as it is the dispositor of Gemini. So whenever Mercury changes signs, this will impact Uranus while it's in Gemini. So we would see many countries and large corporations changing their names. This is my opinion, right? This is my prediction, should I say. Changing the names, large corporations changing their names and policies, changes with visas, passports, licensing, the internet, the way we stream, media, shops or stores, roads, boats, ships, trucks, airplanes, banks, money, anything with a wheel basically, and cars, transport, anything with a name and a motor. So our streaming service should change, right? Or the laws towards that. Our cars we drive should change. So the beginning of the ingress, so this is another prediction I made back when I wrote this and I executed it to the students. Is that the right word, executed?
I know what you mean.
The beginning of the ingress to Gemini will likely involve Trump's tariffs. One would expect this document to change significantly because of pressure from other countries.
Which is kind of like what happened to Herschel.
Exactly. So I'm still going on that line.
And then other countries put pressure on to change
Exactly.
So clever.
So it's likely when Uranus retrogrades, this deal will be suddenly altered. So that's what we're currently going through now. So when Mercury's in the sign of Sagittarius or Pisces, so when it's in its detriment and fall, this is when Uranus will do its worst. Expect problems with trains and boats and airlines and other vehicles. The transport industry. This is when departments ruled by Mercury will see havoc, and lots of households and shop theft, internet scams, cyber theft on a large scale, telecommunication issues, cruise liners and all types of travel, and protests in large scale. So why I'm saying that, because Mercury is in a Jupiter sign, so and Jupiter would be in Cancer anyway for part of that time.
That is such a good point to make. And when it moves back into Taurus, we would look more at what Venus is doing.
Exactly.
And whether it's in a good place.
And that's how you go about predicting things. I mean, you would also use aspects, but now that I don't do a lot of that kind of predictive work, mundane predictive work. I'm not looking at the aspects and the full moons and new moons and things like that. So I'm not really keeping an eye on what's happening in the world, but it's pretty easy to do once you have a very good foundation.
Yeah.
And you know a bit about astrology.
Yes.
Yeah, it just all makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I recently came across Chris Brennan's podcast on Uranus in Gemini. It's really, really good, and I recommend that you listen to that. And it has a whole different take on civil war that happened and war that happens to the US, basically, because the US has Uranus in Gemini in their chart.
And what house is Gemini in the US's chart?
Well,
can just throw that to you.
Look, there's two different charts.
Yeah.
This Sibley chart.
Yes,
so I won't mention that because he has enough on that in his podcast. So I'll leave the viewers to, if they're really interested in finding out more about that Uranus in Gemini, to go to that one.
I should watch that one again.
Yeah.
It's been a while. But it's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he's very thorough. It's brilliant astrologer or presenter of astrology.
Yes, compiling everything.
Yeah. So how does Uranus affect us in your natal chart? So now we're getting away from Uranus in Gemini. We're looking at Uranus in your natal chart, right? How does that affect you? You are not going to have Uranus in Gemini unless you're coming up to your 80s, right?
Yeah.
So Uranus is strong in the chart. The native may want to break free, to be independent. They may leap suddenly, radically in a different way. The urge is to rebel or to shock. And this is in their clan, so it's not in society that they want to be different. It's just something different in the clan. But if you're talking about a person in the natal chart, because these outer planets we use a lot towards generational explanations, we can still work different things out, especially with Uranus, right?
Yeah. So would it be mainly like if it's in their first house?
Yeah, exactly. Or if it makes an aspect to the Lord of the first, or it makes an aspect to the ascendant,
right? Yes.
The degree of the ascendant, so then we would use it for that.
Yeah.
But also, if it makes an aspect like a conjunction or trine or something like that to one of your personal planets, is definitely something to take note of. And so we're going to look at the dispositor and determine if Uranus in the natal chart performs honestly, and if the uniqueness is honourable or the person is forgiven. So, sometimes you might behave in a outwardly manner or unpredictable kind of way, or somebody else may, but will they be forgiven for it?
Right. So that would be how it would work if it was playing out well.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that could be a trine, or if one of the benefics is making an aspect to it.
Whereas it can be quite isolating sometimes, can't it, to be different, or it can cause ruptures in families and relationships.
Well, like let's say a scenario, an event, right? You're expecting your partner to be home at a certain time because you have a wedding to go to and you're dressed and you're ready, but the partner still hasn't showed up. And they just unexpectedly decided they're going to go to the pub.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Or they've totally forgotten about it, or they've got another thing to do after, and they've just can't help it, whichever way it works, right? It doesn't have to be something that they thought about it. So this is a very unexpected kind of thing. You didn't expect that to happen because you're dressed and ready to go to this wedding, right?
Yeah. So that wouldn't be good.
So that can cause a bit of conflict between in the relationship.
Yeah.
And it can ricochet because you might have had to get a babysitter, or your mum, and exactly.
Yeah. It's not easily forgiven.
Yeah. So it can refer to someone like an average person, but it can be, but is corrupt initially. And so this is like, so if the dispositor is in great shape, well, then it would show that somebody is just, they don't actually mean to do these things. They've actually got a good reason. But, if it's not seeing the planet, it's an aversion to it, or there's no dignity with the dispositor, then it can be something a bit more corruptible. They actually they've had no inclination of going to that wedding. It can also be someone just who's unique, who's different.
Yes.
Right.
So they might come to the wedding in something a bit different to what everybody else is
wearing.
They're down in the photos.
Yeah. Well, they do, their job, whatever they do for a living, is very different. It's a bit like everybody's a doctor or a nurse in the family, and this person has become a writer.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Think of Uranus as your spontaneous side, but not always in a good way. And especially if there's a opposition square or with Saturn and Mars. Right? You can make bad decisions, and that would be more so if it aspects you, something that represents you in the natal chart.
Yeah.
Conjunction square or oppose your sun, so that could be your man, a man or authority person, your partner, your husband, your father, who let you down. Or your partner suddenly chooses another event, which is what we were talking about. Yeah. And so the aspects that is to Uranus would have to be considered also.
Yes.
So,
yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I haven't got any charts here, and I haven't got any conversation other than talking about this just between the two of us, and like I haven't got charts to say this is what's happened to this person and this is what's happened to that person. However, it is something that is quite relevant in your natal chart, and probably you'll find that during your perfected time frames, this is going to be more relevant, or if Uranus is making an aspect to something in your natal chart, right? So where is Uranus in transit in Gemini? What does it aspect in your natal chart? And that can be something unexpected. It can be something like an injury, like you trip over, you fall over, like if it's Saturn, and Saturn rules like my 12th house.
Yeah. Or like, exactly. It comes around to a certain point where it's making a square to your natal.
Yeah, exactly.
Things like that.
Exactly. That's it. So if you've got something in the early degrees at the moment, you want to have a look at that.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so that's just a little introduction, really. Well, just discussing Uranus and in Gemini, and I sort of led me to our natal chart. And what that would mean in our natal chart.
And being in a Mercury sign now, it's quite a lot to be changing.
Yeah.
And so I think it's going to be about 7 years in Gemini. So that will be interesting to see what happens over those
2032.
Yeah. It's a long time.
Yeah.
And and especially with all the things connected to the US as well, which they are in the spotlight a lot at the moment. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Controversy.
Because I think their Uranus is at 8 degrees. So I had a lot more to talk about with their chart and Australia's chart, and in the class situation. But I won't be discussing that here. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed that on Uranus in Gemini.
Thank you.
Yeah, we will talk to you next time. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye for now.